Hello, hello, and welcome to the Math Connection. I am Miss Lenz, and today we are talking polynomials. So, what is a polynomial? It seems like a big scary word. Don't worry, it's not a big scary word. So, a polynomial is simply when I'm just adding and subtracting a bunch of terms together. That's what a polynomial is. But there are some restrictions on that. There are things that an expression can have that make it into something that is not a polynomial. So, if an expression has a negative exponent, for example, a negative exponent makes an expression not a polynomial. So an example of that would look like this. Something that looks like x to the negative fifth power. X to the negative fifth, negative 5 is the exponent. That means this is not a polynomial. Now, going along with that one, if we have division by a variable, that also makes something not a polynomial. If I'm dividing by a variable. And that goes right along with x to the negative fifth, because if you'll remember, if you know about negative exponents, I could write x to the negative fifth power as 1 over x to the fifth power. And that's division by a variable. I'm dividing by an x, some sort of x on the bottom. So that means this is not a polynomial. Another example that doesn't look like that one would be something like 4x squared plus 7x divided by 2x minus 1. I have a variable on the bottom of that fraction. I'm dividing by a variable. That means this is not a polynomial. Okay? And the third thing that makes an expression into something that's not a polynomial is a fractional exponent. We cannot have fractions as our exponent. So an example of what that would look like, x to the 2/3 power. X to the 2/3 power, we have a fraction up in that exponent that turns this into not a polynomial. Okay, so let's take a look at some expressions and let's decide if these are polynomials or if they're not polynomials. So let's take a look at this first one, this first red one on top. If I'm looking at that, if I look at my exponents, none of them are negative, so that's good. Also, none of them are fractions. I do see some fractions, though. I see a fraction right here, but since that's not the exponent, that's okay. It's okay if we have a fraction as a coefficient, can just not be an exponent. So that's okay. I also don't see any division by a variable in this. So that one meets all of our criteria. It's adding a bunch of terms and it doesn't have any of those bad things in it. So that means that this one is a polynomial. I'm going to put a P in front of it. That is a polynomial. Okay. Let's look at our second one, our blue one, which is right here. Right off the bat, I notice something bad. I notice that there is a 1/2 exponent. Remember, if it has fractions in our exponents, that means it is not a polynomial. So since it has that 1/2, this makes it not a polynomial. So I'm going to put an N. Let's take a look at the green. The green, if I start here, there's nothing bad here, there's nothing bad here, nothing bad here, but then I run into this -8 in my exponent. Negative numbers in our exponent are not okay. That makes it not a polynomial. So this one is also not a polynomial. The yellow one, x squared plus 8x minus 14, there's not negative exponents, there's not fractional exponents, and I'm not dividing by a variable. Fits all of our criteria, so this one is a polynomial. The pink one, we have 4x plus 9 divided by x. I have an x on the bottom of a fraction. I'm dividing by a variable. That automatically turns this one into something that is not a polynomial, so I'm putting an N. And my last one, 1/3 y plus 18. Again, no negative exponents, no fractional exponents. The fraction in front right here, that's okay. Just can't be in the exponent. And it doesn't have any division by a variable, meets all of our criteria. So this one is also a polynomial. Okay. Now, we're going to learn some more fancy words about polynomials. So, we have this overarching term that's called a polynomial, but we can have specific types of polynomials. And one of those types is called a monomial. Oops, IAL. Monomial. So, monomial, the prefix mono means one. This just has one term. Okay, so a monomial has only one term. An example of that would be 5x to the third power. This is a monomial. It's a type of polynomial, specifically a monomial, because it only has one term. Okay. The next type of polynomial is called a binomial. All we're doing is changing that prefix, that part that's at the front. A binomial, if you could guess this one, it's like a bicycle. Bicycle has two tires. A binomial has two terms. Okay, so a binomial is a type of polynomial that just has two terms. So an example of that would be 3x plus 11. There are two terms there. That is classified as a binomial. It's also a type of polynomial. Okay? And the third type that we're going to talk about is, if you can guess this one, like a bicycle, it's called a tricycle that has three wheels, trinomial. That prefix tri means three. I'm going to have three terms in this. So this is the same. It's a type of polynomial, but this one has three terms. An example would be 2x squared plus x plus 3. It has three terms, 1, 2, 3. That makes this a trinomial. All of these are types of polynomials. Now, what happens if I have four terms? Is there a word for that? We're not going to call it, we don't have any word for 4 terms, 5 terms, 6 terms, and higher. Once it hits 4 terms, we just call it a polynomial, okay? So, monomial has one term. Binomial has two terms. Trinomial has three terms. Anything higher than 3 terms is called just a polynomial, okay? So we're going to go back to the slide that we were just on. We found the ones in here that were polynomials. Now we're going to go to those polynomials and we're going to decide are they monomials, binomials, trinomials, or just polynomials. Now, if something is not a polynomial, it can't be those other ones. It can't be a monomial. It can't be a binomial. It has to be a polynomial first, okay? So let's take a look at our first one, our red one. This one right here. This red one, we need to know how many terms does this have. Okay, so let's start by counting our terms. We have 1 term, 2 term, 3 term, 4 term, and 5 term. We didn't have a specific a word for something that has 5 terms in it. So remember, we just call that a polynomial. It's just classified as a polynomial. Okay. Our blue one we said is not a polynomial, so it can't be a monomial, binomial, or trinomial. It can't be anything, so we don't have to look at that one. Same with our green one that's up there, not a polynomial. Our yellow one is, though. So let's start by looking at how many terms it has. Here's one term. There's a plus sign, so I'm starting a new term, and then a minus 14 at the end. That one has 3 terms. 3, tri means 3, so this is classified as a trinomial. Okay. Our pink one, we already said that one's not a polynomial, so we don't have to try to classify that one any further. And our last orange one at the bottom is a polynomial. Again, how many terms does this have? It has 1 here, and then I run into a plus sign, so this is a separate term. This one has 2 terms, and bi means 2, so this one is called a binomial because it has 2 terms. If you liked what you heard today, please hit that subscribe button. If you want some extra practice, you can click in the link in the episode description, and it has a short practice set of problems, and then there are videos that explain each answer as well. If you want to go farther with polynomials, our next one is about adding and subtracting. You can click on this video, and that'll show you how to add and subtract polynomials. Thanks for hanging with me today, and we'll see you soon.